Observe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 33 of the Observe and Rapport show. I'm Kyle Brennan, joined as ever by my beautiful co-host, but we are actually joined by a third guest.
Hi, guys.
My own brother, Tommy Brennan.
Hi, Tom.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's so great to see you, man. It's been too long.
I've been following you guys for a while.
Yeah, we've known each other for
Since you were
quite a
born,
bit.
I've been
Since
following you guys. Yeah, it's been a while.
We've been following each other for years at this point.
Yeah.
Around backyards.
Pre-socials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? You all
Good,
right?
man. Thanks for having me.
You look like $1 billion. I'll tell you that.
I'm trying.
So how does it feel to be behind the camera of the show that you've listened to for 32 episodes?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool. You guys put on a pretty cool production.
Yeah, people. That's always what people say. They go, I didn't think it would look as legit as it does. Yeah,
no,
it looks
the
pretty
room's
legit.
great. The lighting, the setup. It's cool.
Well, Tom, welcome. So the reason I promised to bring you on the show as soon as you finished your race.
To be clear, I didn't ask to come on. You guys.
No, yeah, we
You
kind
guys
of forced
asked
you.
me.
So tell everyone listening about this little race or
tell them,
hike,
because
whatever you
I
wanna
do
say.
have give them the background of it, and I have something to ask you.
Yeah, I'll give you the background of the event, and then if you want to, I guess, get into why I did it.
Yes.
We can do that. So the event is called 29029 Everesting. So basically, 29,029 feet is the height of Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. And what this company does is they go to different mountains around the U.S., or I guess North America, is two in Canada. And you basically hike a ski mountain, however many times that mountain takes to
Add up to
climb the equivalent of Everest. And
So
you
it's
have-
not the same place every year? It's
no,
not the same
they
mountain?
have the same. They have the same 6 or 7 mountains,
Okay.
and you have 36 hours to do it. So it starts the event itself with like speakers and arriving. Everything starts on Thursday, and then the hiking itself starts on 6 a.m. Friday and goes till 6 p.m. Saturday. So
Gee.
it's 36 hours,
Right.
however long it takes you to do. So you hike up, take the gondola down, repeat. And some people say, oh,
How many times in a day do you do it when you're doing it? I mean, I know it depends on who you are, but like,
so for me,
yeah, what's your pace?
So I did it in 2022, and I just did it last weekend. So I done it the same mountain twice. Done Stratton in Vermont. So it's 17 times up.
In one day? Oh, in
Over
total.
36
however
hours.
long it
over
takes.
36
Yeah.
hours.
Jesus Christ.
So
Yeah.
to give you like the kind of the statistics of it, it's every lap or hike is 1.35 miles to the top.
Gotcha.
That gets you to 750 vertical feet every time. So one lap is 1,750 feet, and then total you're climbing 29,000 feet. And based on this mountain, that equates to 22.4 miles uphill. Now every mountain's different because it could be this is a pretty steep hill. So but other mountains are bigger, but it's a longer way up because
Right.
it's not as steep. So it could be more miles. So every mountain's, it's not like, oh, every mountain is 17 times up. Like one
Right.
mountain is 8 times, but every lap is like 4 miles.
Because you're accounting for elevation, not
Exactly.
distance.
And how long? So it's 1.35 miles up for one trip. You're doing that 17 times.
Right.
How long does the average hike up take?
So for me, I did it with, I met 2 guys on the mountain. I was supposed to do it.
I read that.
So I was supposed to do it with a buddy of mine. He got sick the day before, couldn't come. So
Shout out to Eamon.
Yeah.
Eamon was going to do it with you?
Yeah. So I won't get into like what happened to him, but
Yeah.
I was mentally prepped to do it with someone because 2 years ago I signed up like on a whim and just did it by myself, and I've always done like these type of running events and triathlons, whatever, with people that I know. So this was the first time I just like signed up, showed up, met people. So first hike up, everyone kind of goes at the same time. So it's kind of like a slower pace. Met these two guys on the gondola ride down.
On the first ride down?
Ride down, Jack and Gary. And we just like, I was like, all right. They knew each other. I didn't know them.
Okay.
So they already knew each other. So they could have just been like, screw this guy.
Yeah, screw this guy.
And how many people are doing the event in total?
This one was about 280.
Okay.
280
It usually is between 250 and 300. So it's a pretty intimate group. And so our average was somewhere between, per hike was 45 minutes to 55 minutes, give or take. Like we had some slower ones, but we had some, yeah, I'd just call it like maybe just like an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, just call it an hour.
So like,
give or take.
if you want to like break it down, I ended up, so you can stop for like breakfast, lunch, dinner, obviously go at your own pace. You just have to complete it in 36 hours. You can go to bed, right? So,
yeah, of course.
So some people are like, I don't know, in this world of, endurance sports or whatever, people are like, oh, you take the gondola ride down. How hard can it be? And I'm like, it's like, first of all, if you did it down and up, like hiking, it'd take, I don't know how long, but like the whole event is uphill. There's no flat part.
Right.
Even when you get to a flattish area, there's some incline.
Right. It's Huntington flat. It's not like Florida flat.
Yeah.
There's always a hill.
And I could say too, as a spectator, so I watched Tommy do it both in 2022 and this year. Like I take the gondola ride up.
Yeah.
And like I'm, shouting at him from the gondola, but it's basically like a drone overview of the trail. And it looks fucking like
brutal. Well, like this is
just calves.
So
like
first of all, two things. I read on Reddit about this, which is the only source on the internet that I trust is Reddit because it's like real people. But like they were like, arguably the way down is harder on your legs than the way up, because like if you have bad knees or a bad ankle or whatever it is, like that constant boom, boom, boom.
Especially like the more tired you are, that you could get seriously injured if you're going down.
So what was interesting though, I read a lot of reviews on this event, and
interesting.
And a lot of the Reddit reviews.
Tommy did no due diligence when he signed up for this.
So like, really. But it's funny. A lot of them, this is how they would go. It would start with like, I heard about this event. I thought it was so stupid. I thought like, what do they mean they're climbing Everest? You're in the United States. Exactly. It's not cold. You're taking all these breaks. You sleep in a hotel. You get all the food you want. It's like almost like a party kind of vibe too. People are drinking beer. Some people, whatever. If that's true, I don't know if that's true. But like, it started with a critique, and the last part of their paragraph is, it was the greatest experience of my entire life, and I can't wait for next year.
Yeah.
So like there's this part of it where I think like anything, like any kind of like retreat or going to camp, even when you're a kid, there's like, if you're there for a certain amount of days with people doing something, there's just this camaraderie that gets built.
Kind of what I've said to, and Kyle can attest to this, is like you do a triathlon, right? It's like you're all hanging out at the starting line, and then you don't really do the event together, right? Like someone's swimming faster, someone's biking faster. You kind of just meet up at the end, have your little party after, or even after like a marathon, right? Or something.
Yeah, you're at a bar.
Yeah, you're at a bar. You have your post,
bananas,
your post banana, and
crackers.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but this is like, I didn't know these guys coming into the event. I met them on the gondola. I was with them for, other than sleeping, and we slept for maybe like 5 or 6 hours. I was with these guys for 30 straight hours.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew them before, but like, and we were like,
and it never got weird or awkward or quiet.
No, it got quiet
because you're
in
tired.
the, you're so, and like to kind of like say, oh, like you take the gondola down, whatever, like to kind of put it into comparison, right? Like this event, it's really like an ultra endurance event. Like you see 2 sunrises in this event.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it takes
two, you see 2 sunrises. A marathon, right? You can do in, I'm not knocking any of these.
No, I get
I'm just
it.
talking about from time perspective.
Yeah.
Like you can do a marathon in 5, 6, 7 hours. You could do a Ironman in 14 hours. Like I was on the mountain, like take away the meals, take away me sleeping, me actually like hiking, gondola down, trying to fuel, hydrate. I was on the mountain for 20 to 22 hours.
Jeez, yes. Yeah. So in a way, like even psychologically, it's like, oh, like,
Well,
you know,
because you're doing it 17 times, every single part of that mountain where it's going to suck, where it's going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
You become intimately
You know
familiar
exactly
with it.
every single point. And like, so the reason I did it 2 years ago was, so I guess I found it in 2021. So we were talking earlier. One of the founders is Jesse Itzler.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't know who he is, I know Kyle does, but like he wrote Living with the Seal with Goggins. His wife is Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx. So
he's the guy from the Rogan episode on that book.
He's that's
Goggins lived with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I had no
this
clue
is
that was him.
He's also a like serial entrepreneur. Like if you've been to like a Knicks game, it's like go New York, go.
Okay.
He wrote that song.
Wrote that.
Oh, really?
Like, he was like,
but
a
he made like
songwriter,
no money
too.
on it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, whatever. That's.
But I was just
typical.
kind of in this like, I don't know, rut of like, I was getting to a point where like, I've had like back pain like over the years, like herniated disc, whatever. And it was getting to the point where like walking my dog or like walking to the park was like hurt. Like,
Really?
Like 20-minute walk, like need to sit down, need to like lay down. And I was like, this is like brutal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? Like, so I ended up going to like a spine doctor or like and so they did like nerve blocks. They did these injections. And I guess they worked a little bit. And then I already signed up for the event. And I'm like, yeah, I'm hiking this mountain like 17 times. She's like, okay. But like, it's weird because you talk about these like, subconscious or whatever, change mind shift things. So I was in the doctor's office. I already had a nerve block, already had the injections done. And I'm going back and the doctor, she's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing all right, I guess. I don't know. It's a little better. And she goes, let me look at your MRI again. And she pulls up the MRI and she goes, your back's not that bad. And her just saying that, and like consciously, I know like all she said were those words, but her like, I don't know what it did to me. And I'm like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And then I wouldn't say my pain like went away, but I was like, kind of did. And like, if it hurts now, I know it's like my hips are tight. And I just like stretch my hips out. And don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of active recovery and stuff at night. And like, I'll be like at home, I'll be laying on the floor watching TV on like a acupuncture pad.
Yeah.
Like I do.
You're always doing something.
I'm always doing something, but like her saying that like really like changed something for me. And so
why did you blindly believe the doctors so much?
I didn't
though?
blindly. She looked at my MRI and was like, you have a herniation, but it's like,
yeah, you shouldn't be debilitated.
it's not. Yeah. She's like, this doesn't make sense. You're not that bad.
It's funny. Dr. Peter Attia, he talks about how he had like debilitating back pain and he was always a fit guy his whole life. And he actually explained one time I was listening to on a podcast that when you take MRIs of people's backs, people with no pain and like are, endurance athletes or very fit people, and then you take the MRIs of people who are in excruciating pain and like can barely walk. He goes, you can put them side by side and sometimes it looks exactly the same.
Right.
It's identical, meaning it can either be that there's no visible damage in their back on the MRI, or both the person in pain and the athlete who feels no pain both have like a slip disc. Yeah. But like, so there's John Sarno, right?
It's a mind
over back pain, which is obviously the subject of a lot of critique because, of course, there are certain cases where if your spine is fucked up, like your mind isn't gonna fix it, But it is interesting to hear you say that that like so much of back pain, but it's also probably one of the biggest tension points of stress too. Like I'm sure you get it. Like I get it in my like neck.
Now it's
stressed,
my neck,
right?
because my back. I've figured out my back. So now it's just it's in my
just
neck.
moves up.
Well, it goes somewhere. It goes somewhere. Whatever it is you're going through, you hold it. You hold it somewhere.
Yeah.
So when you, I'm really interested in though, because this has happened to me too, but it wasn't with my back. It was more with like my health. After my dad died or whatever, you think, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine, and you are, but like you never get away with anything. Like it's gonna manifest.
Body keeps the score. We've talked
Exactly.
about that. Yeah.
It's gonna find a way to get out of you, whether it's pain or grief or whatever it is. And I was just obsessed with my heart or my liver or my brain. Like I thought I had a brain tumor. I thought I had a heart attack every day for like 2 years. And then you go to the doctor and they're just like, pal, there's just nothing wrong with you.
Right.
And you go, at a certain point, you hear that for the 15th time, and you're like, you know what? I think I need to just kind of get over what I think is wrong with me, you know? And so when this woman said that to you, it's okay. I'll plug it in when it's probably got 20%. Thank you for letting me know. When she said that to you, what happened next? Were you like, oh, I guess I'm okay? Or I got to like how did you get through it then? Because you were in pain.
Yeah, I think, I don't remember. I just remember her saying those words, and then
it just flipped your mentality.
I think that was in
it.
so I did the event in October of 22. That was probably in the winter of 22. So February, March, probably. So right when I was about to like start training for the event, because it was like the training is like 20 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and the thing I think with the training, like it was running, but it was at a slow,
Like zone 2,
however you want to define that, like conversational pace. So like, it wasn't as taxing on the body as like trying to go as fast as you can. Cause like, this is a ultra endurance event. Like you have 36 hours to complete this thing, and it's a slow and steady completes the race type of thing. Or
yeah, you can't just
race.
balls to the wall this.
No, you can't. I mean, the guy who came, so
yeah, is there like a first place? Yes.
No, everyone knows who finished first because it's the guy finished first, but I have no idea where I finished. Like there's no first place. It's just so, and the cool thing is about this event is if you don't reach Everest, you reach the other top
K2
summits on every continent.
Okay.
So you get like check marks on your bib of like, oh, you reached Denali or Kilimanjaro. So then at the end, if you'd ever reached Everest, they'll award a medal to like base whatever mountain you reached. But yeah, so I don't remember necessarily. I just really liked the training. Like I thought it was like, it didn't crush me, especially like at the time I had like a young daughter, and I was like, I can. Because some of the trainings towards the end are like 6-hour days, 8-hour days, but like it's just slow and steady. Just
you're not killing yourself.
It's time on feet. Like how long can you be on your feet and just move?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it never like wrecked me for the whole day. Yeah. And I've never really like
it's a round of golf, really.
Yeah, I've never really like wanted to like do a marathon. Like it's never like I've never loved running.
It's the worst.
And so
it's the fucking worst.
Agreed.
But I like I could do 3 days a week, put me on a treadmill on an incline, and I can walk.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Like I can do that. So I really like that. And then the event is just, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like you don't want to, I wouldn't say I necessarily like drink the Kool-Aid of the event, but you get sucked in. It's
there's a little
hard.
Tony Robbins part of it, correct? And not in a bad way, but is there a lot of like all right, come on,
I mean,
let's
it's just,
go.
I think everyone's just there.
Everyone's excited
for a comment. Like no one's like sizing each other up. Like this isn't like a triathlon, or me and Kyle did like this High Rocks event last June where you have like, it's a bunch of alphas.
That was literally competitive.
It's a bunch of like alphas in outside.
Like, I would agree with that too. Having been an outside like observer of this race, I could say a few things about it, and having done.
I'm actually curious to like. I only really know like the perspective of myself and people who have done it. I'm curious to see like what the perspective is of someone like you who've like watched it and seen it twice.
Yeah. So like you obviously asked me to do it with you both times, and I was just like, fuck that.
Well, let's be clear. Like the biggest thing that if I ask people to do it is the price point. It's expensive.
Right. It is an expensive,
listen, I'm not oblivious to that.
Which we'll get into too, but I would say as an outside observer, I've done marathons, triathlons, I've been a CrossFit guy, like drank the Kool-Aid of all these different events. And I would agree with you in that this race, when I showed up to watch you at Stratton, the 29029, like it lacked that in the best way possible. Like it lacked the ego or the sizing each other up. Like when you go to a triathlon or you go to a CrossFit event or something, like you could be the most jacked dude or like most in shape person at your gym or whatever. And then you show up there and you see 50 other people and you're like, oh fuck, I gotta beat that guy. And like, there's this sort of like stress about, competing. Whereas this race, I felt like it was very much, as you said, you're on the mountain for 20 something hours with people. Like you can't help but to share camaraderie in the mutual suffering that you're doing. And there's no prize really for finishing first, second, or third. It's just, did you finish?
Did you do this? Right. Did you finish? Right.
Yeah. I mean, you're in it with these people. You see people that you've never met before, like at their lows, they see you at your lows. And, like one of the things that one of the speakers said on Thursday, which was interesting, was they said like in endurance events, and I guess like kind of in life, if you think about it, like the suffering isn't linear, meaning if lap 3 sucked for you, that doesn't mean 4, 5, 6, 7 are going to suck the same or even worse, right? Like,
so something
things
happens
can
internally.
get better.
Right.
Like just because like for me, right, like the lap before lunch sucked. I ate, regrouped. Next lap out was a little bit slower, but felt good. After dinner, we did night hikes. You have your it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. It's pitch black out there.
Shit.
It's windy as hell. 13 sucked. I didn't say much on 13. I didn't say too much on 13. And the other guys with me, like we were all, barely speaking for 45, 50 minutes. I mean, but like you go back out there the next day and you're like, you got 4 left. And even
I heard someone say, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'm not really that sorry, but whatever. It's like there's
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna. I can't help it. I heard someone say, I don't know if it was a tweet or whatever, but they were like, I could totally do Sisyphus's job if I just had some coffee and headphones or something. like the whole rolling a rock uphill and then it falls to the bottom. Well, so, and it's the thing. One must imagine Sisyphus happy, right? Like because what you're talking about, it sounds like it sucks, but there's something about doing it and knowing you're going to do it and knowing you have to do it in a way.
Well, so there's a quote by Freud. One of the coaches said it in one of the events, and I'm paraphrasing, but it goes, in retrospect, the suffering strikes you as most beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
That's growth. That's
we
right.
talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
But I also just want to
like while you're in it, it doesn't.
Oh no, you're like I want to die. Yeah.
Well, I literally just wrote about this, which was essentially I wrote like a huge article on it, but essentially the message was any achievement you've made in your life or accomplishment that you're proud of, it sucked. Yeah. It had to be hard in order for you to feel proud. If it was easy, you wouldn't have learned anything about yourself or had anything challenging enough to feel proud of. So on the other side of accomplishment is something that you sucked at, worked through, figured out, battled your own demons, your own body, your own exhaustion, and you came out the other side a finisher of it, right? Like one question I like to ask whenever I interview someone for work, at the end, I always ask, like, outside of work or your career, like, what is your most proud accomplishment? And almost everyone has an example like that. Like, I did a marathon, or I had a baby, or, I was the first person I went to college, and like all these different things that like sucked and were really hard, but that's always what people are most proud of.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the taglines for the event is like, who will you be on the other side of this, or of 29029? And like, yeah, it's like a marketing shtick or whatever, but like,
it's a relevant question.
It's a relevant question. And it's like, it's hard to say now because I'm only like a week out from this one, but like 2 years ago when I did it, I definitely was a different person coming out of that.
For sure.
Knowing like like, let's say, like, I don't know, for physical endeavors, like one of the events that they have that they came out with last year as part of their package or thing to choose from was their trail event. So it's 3 marathons in 3 days. And you have 12 and you have 12 hours each day. No, I'm just saying.
No, I know, but wow. Like people do
well,
that.
the thing is, like, the training takes over your whole life. So, like,
of course.
Whatever. But like,
so 3 marathons in 3 days.
And you have 12 hours each day to do it.
Oh, well, but that actually kind of makes sense because
not that makes it easier, but
right. No, it still sucks.
But you don't have to. You could.
It's not about pace.
If you think about, you could, if you walk like a 17, 18 minute pace, you can do it.
No, that's what I mean. Like that's actually.
But then you're walking for 12 hours straight. And then
well, that's the thing. Like one of these older guys.
I actually like that.
One of these older guys who did the.
It's like you run the first day, walk the second, and then run the third.
One of the sayings that has been around the event now is an 80-year-old did the event. Completed it.
He did the Stratton or
he did Mont Tremblant this year, and I forget the other one that he got so this is the red hat that you get at the end if you can complete it.
So he did the
he
Everest.
did it at 80 years old.
Wow.
But he said to the one of the founders, he goes, I'm really mad at you. Either I took the gondola ride down. He's like, why are you mad at me? He's like, your event is frustratingly doable.
Whoa.
Meaning, like, you can finish,
right?
But you got to put in the time. It's not going to be easy. Like, there's no easy way to hike up a hill.
Right.
You could go slower,
but
you still got to go up.
Well, that's a perfect phrase, frustratingly doable. And that was the one thing as I watched you the last 2 years, because I'm an in shape guy, and I'm like watching you, and I know it's hard. I know the mountain is fucking straight up, and I'm like, I think I could do this. I asked you, and I asked like the two guys you did it with, I was like, do you think I could do this with no training? Being an in shape person. And almost unanimously the answer was like, no shot.
Well, the joke was towards the end, one of the guys brought up that their buddy Jeremy was like, oh, you guys are like, you're not really climbing Everest. There's no altitude. Like there's no snow. Like he's like, I've done marathons. I could do this. And like, towards the end when we're like struggling, like we'd just be hiking and we'd just be like, fuck Jeremy.
Yeah.
Fuck Jeremy. Like,
yeah. Well,
it's hard, man. Like it's
hard.
Easy,
there's no way around that.
Like, so just to be so there was 280 people. The completion rate of the whole reaching the top of Everest was 63%.
Oh, wow.
So that's not everybody. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's almost half people didn't finish.
I also want to pause on what you said earlier about it's not linear, which I think is such a perfect way to like not. It's analogous to many other things, right? And it reminded me of like Colin Morikawa, the golfer, was talking to Grant Horvath, he's like an influencer golfer, and he was asking him. He's like, sometimes I have those ruts in a round where like the first 6 holes I'm playing great, and then all of a sudden like the wheels fall off and like something happens. And he didn't say those words, but it was the same message of just like, well, a round of 18 holes, like it's not going to be, if you start out great, you're not just going to get better. And if you start out bad, you're not just going to get worse. Like you got to break it up into chunks of like, look at it like 3 whole rounds. So like, holes 1 through 3, that's 1 round. And if you're 1 under there, great. But like holes 4 through 6, you might be 2 over. But like you can't look at it as a cumulative, I have 16 more holes or 14 more hikes up this mountain, because you might feel like shit on hikes 3, 4, and 5, but that doesn't mean you're going to feel like shit on hikes 11, 12, 13.
It's these events like golf. We talk about how it's a metaphor for life, and a round is like you can poetically put it any way you want, but like it's these events that have ups and downs that it really resonates with everybody, because it reflects like, it's like you said, you just have to keep going at the end of the day, but will you is the real question. And like, that's life. Like life sucks sometimes, but you gotta get out of bed. You have to. You can't just lay there. So like, it's these things that we try to bottle them up into like a week or a seminar or whatever, but like, or a round of golf. But that's, I think, what you guys walk away with, because everyone says this on Reddit or whatever too. They're like, it was the greatest thing I ever did. I think it's just, that's what it's touching this reflection of what life is, and it just makes people emotional, and it makes you happy.
Well, it's also like there's 3 of us. First of all, I'd say there's a lot of people out there that like are doing it by themselves at a slow pace, and I'm like, I can only imagine what's going on mentally. Like I had these 2 guys that like I met, and they were awesome guys, but like between the 3 of us, like we could be doing one hike or like one ascent, right? And one of us could be like, oh, that felt pretty good, and the other guy's like, that really sucked for me, and the other guy's like, yeah, I didn't feel too. And then like it just reverses or flips. Like everyone is going through something different, and like for us, like one of the guys I hiked with, he said to me like he was with his buddy, and then they took me on, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, like at the end, he was like, if you weren't with us, I probably would have. We did 13 laps the first night. He's like, if you weren't with us, I probably would have went to bed at 11 laps and told, Jack to go finish the other 2 by himself. Cause I was shot, but like having you there and like another voice was like, all right, and to be fair, like those last 2 laps, he didn't say too much.
Right. Do you find that there's something that does change about you inherently or in a solid way that you just, cause there's those times in life where you're like, I'm actually done. I'm done. And then you just, for whatever reason, decide to not be done and do it anyway. And then you realize after, like, wow, I guess I wasn't done.
No.
Like, and it's the Goggins thing. Everyone quits at 40% or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, but knowing that you did that, because you asked before, who are you going to be when you're done with this event? It's only a week away, or it only happened a week ago, but do you feel like truly different?
I think I'm still riding the high of the event. Like if I'm going to talk about how like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
I just felt like the first time, like just kind of kickstarted my whole, for lack of a better description, like health and wellness, and just like my starting point, like I would have never done, first of all, like doing, the mountain, like my back held up like fine. Like if you told me, I don't know, 4 years ago that I'd be doing like that High Rocks event with him, I'd be like, nah, my back, there's no way I could do that. Yeah. I would use that as like an excuse. And like, now I'm just like, oh, if my back hurts, I know my hips are tight. Let me just, and like, not to say like that was the reason this whole time that my back hurt. Like obviously there was like subconscious aspect. There's a real, there's a lot of things, but, now I'm just like, all right, I kind of know what the issue is. And,
I think that's why I'm such a strong proponent of doing hard things voluntarily.
I hate
I know it's like
I hate the phrase. I won't say I hate it, but like the phrase "do hard things," I feel like is becoming more of like a.
I know, like a Gary V or like.
But like I get it. I don't know what another like. I guess put yourself in difficult situations.
Yeah, well, it's either Chris Williamson or Ryan Holiday said this quote where it's like, you'd be crazy to think that nothing bad is going to happen in your life, but you'd be equally crazy to think that, or I'm fucking that quote up. Sorry. The other quote that I meant to say is, unknown suffering is going to happen. And the only way to prepare yourself for unknown suffering is through voluntary suffering. Yeah. Meaning like, if you never actually get off the couch and do anything difficult, then the worst thing that happens to you today, like, is going to ruin your whole day. Yeah. Because you're like, oh my God, I'm not prepared for this. What am I going to do? I don't have the mental or physical capacity to handle this stress. And like, but when you do that race, or you do a marathon, or you do some other mental challenge, or push yourself through something, at the end of that, you come out and you can say, when worse comes to worse, I can handle that.
Well, yeah, like to get to the point I was talking about, the 3 marathons in 3 days thing, like I wouldn't necessarily do it now because it's like be too much of a time constraint having a family, and I wouldn't want to like take time away from that. But like if everything being equal, I'd be like, right, like now going through these, I'd be like, I could do it.
Yeah. Well, now you have that confidence.
Like I could I don't want to train for it now because of like my life stage, but like I'd be like, I could do it.
There also is something that I've noticed with guys who are your age, our age, whatever we are, in our 30s, mid 30s. Like when you have that second kid, I've noticed people like I'm about to have a second kid. I hope I didn't. Yeah, you told the world we're good. So
I didn't say it.
No. She came out with like I've already made mistakes, but whatever. No, I've noticed when guys have like, there's always that guy who is like, I had 2 kids and I really got lost in that whole life of like, raising kids and going to work and working overtime and trying to be there for my wife and whatever. And then they get into this insane level of shape because they just like, something happens where they hit rock bottom, not rock bottom, but like you look in the mirror one day and you're like, man, I'm a fat tub of shit, huh?
Yeah, but you know what it is? It's like, for me.
So was there a bottom was what I was getting at.
No, I don't want to say it was just a bottom, but now it's just like, for me, it's like prioritizing my time. Like in the summer, when the sun was rising at like 5 a.m., like I was running at 4:45 in the morning. If I had to get like a hour and a half run in, like I want to be somewhere in the realm of my kid was waking up at around 7. Like I didn't want to like put the whole burden on my...
these guys now, these dudes who have kids. It's one guy.
Like right now, like I should be in bed.
No, 100%. So
you know what I'm saying?
like should. Yeah, but like the reality is like these guys wake up at 4 o'clock. Some of these guys who are like the influencer type person who's like in shape and has kids. Like that's really what it takes. You just have to kind of go.
Well, people are like, oh, I don't have the time, and I'm
no,
like,
you do.
You do.
You do.
You just don't want to make the time. Like, yeah, do I love getting up at 4 a.m.? No. But like when I'm done with it every day, I'm like, well, that's done. That's checked off. And like one of my coworkers, shout out Todd if he's going to watch this, but like, it's like finding your window, whatever day it is, whatever scenario, like, and then executing in that window. Like if your window is 4 to 5 a.m. because you got to be at a birthday party at 11 or your kids wake up at 7, like that's your window. Like don't stay up till 12 watching TikTok and like Friends reruns, like, you know what I mean? Like go to bed if you want to get something, and don't complain about how you didn't have time the next day.
I think there's a misconception that the guys who are able to do a race like you, or the guys who are able to wake up at 4 a.m. and work out, have this just insane level of willpower and discipline. Like, oh, I couldn't do that because I don't have that level of discipline. And I don't think it really takes that much discipline. I think it's reframing how you prioritize and value it, which like I know if I don't sweat for like 2-3 days in a row that I start to feel groggy, my sleep's worse, my mental clarity and concentration just isn't as good, and I need to like, it's almost like a mental hygiene of working out. Like, so I look at it as like brushing my teeth, where in the morning I wake up 5:30. Some people are like, that's so early, how do you do that? And I'm like, because that's the window for me where before I commute to work, before I do all the things, if I can get in a hard 30-minute workout and sweat, to me, that's like brushing my teeth for my body and for my brain. And now I'm set for the rest of the day.
It was funny. We were on like lap like 12 or 13. We're so close, but like if you think about it, you still have like 4 hours left. Like, and they're 5 hours, whatever. And I said to the guys, I was like, we're in the middle of like a steep hike. I'm like, what I'm looking forward to? Just like a 30-minute hit workout going forward. Not like a 2-hour hike.
That's the same with like the marathon training. I was running 5 days a week, and after that I was just like, I can't wait to do like curls. And just like
I do want to get back to like you speaking of like marathon training and stuff, and the training in general. When I did the half marathon, I still think back on those training days and how like I truly enjoyed the training up for that. The half like beats your ass, and like a marathon beats your ass, and it's like,
but that's one day. Your training was months,
and but the training was so good, like because it's those runs that are doable, but they're still fucking hard. Like 5 miles, 6 miles, 7 miles. That's not anyone can just get off the couch and do that. You have to work to that. But you do find like I anyway was a runner high guy. Like I would find these moments of like, oh, this is so nice. Like you get this. Like it's weightless. You don't feel it on your feet, the pavement. You just kind of
wish I felt that.
No, I know, and it would happen to me because I'd run in really nice environments, like in state parks.
I would chase the sunrise.
Yeah, like
the sunrise over the water.
It's nice.
That helped a lot.
It hits
a lot, I should say.
I think like doing anything difficult or learning any new skill follows like the same arc.
Yeah,
where it's like and it's also the benefit of doing some of these things and putting yourself through it because you learn about yourself in the process, and that arc is like, you accept for the first 2 to 6 months, you're just going to suck. and it's going to suck. But like once you get past that and you do it consistently for 2 to 6 months, then you hit that like sort of inflection point where you're like, all right, now I'm capable of this. It still sucks, but like it's way easier than it was 6 months ago. And then after that, you kind of plateau, but then you switch your brain to the small wins each day of like, oh, I was able to do another 3 minutes or another half mile or whatever it is.
The smart thing what this event does is, so it's included in the price, which obviously is very expensive, is it's a 20-week training plan. And I'm a guy who like, I print it out, and when I do one, I highlight it. I'm like, but that's me. That's like,
I know that is you.
That's how, but that's for me. That's how I get up in the morning.
Brother.
I'm like, I can't not do that tomorrow. Then I won't be able to.
It's my plan.
I won't be able to cross it off.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that kills people.
Right.
Certain people.
So,
I have that same.
But with the smart thing, what they did was it's a 20-week training plan, but they only sent the training plans out 2 weeks at a time. So you couldn't open it and look at week 18 and be like, how am I going to do all that? There's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But when you send it in 2-week blocks, that's all you're looking at.
That's great.
That's very smart.
That is
I
smart.
used to do that for the marathon, and I'd see like
you look ahead.
You see my 11-mile run. What the fuck? No, I can't.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know.
So and then people would they have this like community network, and people are like, hey, can you send me these weeks? And they're like, no,
not the way it works.
That's
it's not good for you.
So that's actually one thing I wanted to talk about. It stopped me from doing it in 2022, but I think it's expensive to sign up. But again, as I would say, having done these races though, and been in that sort of like community I can say, and you can definitely attest to this, like that was probably the best run event
by far.
I've ever seen by
yeah,
far.
like what are you paying for?
Yeah,
so the food, the lodging.
I'll say this, like I'll tell you what's like what you see on the website and what's included. So it's like 3 nights at a hotel. The event is 4 days, Thursday to Sunday, but you're there for 3 nights, right? You get breakfast, lunch, dinner every single day. Drinks are included. Like, I mean, you're not really drinking alcohol until you finish, or I did. I thought it was like a jinx but anyway, open bar at the end of the night.
How many beers would you put away after a day like that?
You'd think it's a lot,
but because it doesn't count. So like
you'd think it's a lot, but in this instance, I had one strong IPA after. We went. I was telling Kyle we went out to lunch as like a family. We got like another beer. I think I had like half of it. I went to go to the bathroom, which, of course, at this restaurant is up like 30 flights of stairs. And I come.
They're
back,
just like they're just a joke on you. They're playing a joke on you.
I come back down, and all of a sudden I was standing there, and I just go like, I'm exhausted. Yeah. I am shot. I didn't even go back and sit down at the table. I was just like, I think people got the hint like, oh, we should get the check. And so I went back to the room, showered, fell asleep. And then I was so groggy because like I didn't really get a good sleep.
Yeah, alcohol's not what you need after a day of life.
So we went to Chelsea came with me to the after party, and I think I had like, just because I just didn't want water, I had like a couple like non-alcoholic beers just because they were there, and I don't drink soda, and I just couldn't do.
That's my issue with beers, dude. I don't drink soda, but I don't want to drink water all the time. So like, if there's a beer, I just have it. But I just have a beer, you know.
That's why I like athletic brewing is so good.
Yeah, so even then I was like so tired. I had like one, and I tried to have a second one, and I was like, it felt like it was an alcoholic beer. I was like, I can't.
2 beers is probably like the post race. Just do. And
2
it was
beers. It was like this Vermont like super
IPA topper.
Yeah. But
like
anyway, so what else
ABV.
is included is like so the 20-week training plan.
How's the food?
Food it wasn't great. It was okay.
But it's unlimited, right?
Unlimited,
like,
and then they have like a recovery lounge with like the Normatec boots, like everything.
Cool.
But, like,
they have like a masseuse.
I think the thing that like they have massage therapists, nice. But like I don't want to make this sound like a cushy event because it is hard.
No,
I
get what you're saying.
The only thing you have to think about is like hiking, eating and drinking enough, because like every lap you're burning about 600 to 700 calories. Yeah, and you have to replace.
Crazy.
You can't replace.
Insane.
I was saying I think a CrossFit workout was like 900 calories.
And so like you get to the 8, so there's like an aid station in the middle of the mountain, and there's one at the top, and they have like Kyle could attest to this. Like any type of food or concoction you could think of, they have like peanut butter and jellies. They had Pop-Tarts. They had, and I haven't had Pop-Tarts in like.
They didn't. I was surprised they didn't have Uncrustables, but they did have regular PB&J.
They made peanut butter and jellies.
I was looking forward to Uncrustables.
Oh, they had.
I wanted you to steal some
ramen
from me.
noodles. They had Cheez-Its. But anything. But I was saying like, and all the people that work there are volunteers. That have either done the event and people love the event so much that there's a wait list to volunteer. That's wild. Like you have to pay for everything yourself.
You can also tell those people, the volunteers, like they're like amazing. Like
they help make the event. But I was saying like you literally don't have to think of anything. Like one of the things, so it got cold, right? So like people were asking for hand warmers, and so they'll open them for you. They'll like warm. What they did was they pre-opened hand warmers and put them in like a Tupperware and shook them. And so they were already warm when they came out. Yeah. So they handed you
for it.
Warm.
That alone is worth the fee. Like,
but just like little stuff that like you just had to hike the mountain, hydrate, and fueling, which is easier said than done because a lot of people can be physically fit for it. But if you don't hydrate and fuel on the mountain, like every time I got on the gondola, I was eating or drinking something to the point where like I didn't want to eat or drink anything anymore. I didn't want to see another peanut butter and jelly. I didn't want to see another.
People talk about that when they're trying to gain weight for whatever, like making weight.
But
whatever
you have to. Or
they're like,
man,
you think eating, it's great. It's not. After a certain point, you're like,
well, you just feel like a machine.
You're throwing stuff. You're
in.
Throwing stuff in your body that for 358 days of the year, 60 days of the year, you're never eating. Like I'm not eating Pop-Tarts.
No.
The amount of Pop-Tarts I ate, or like Cheez-Its or chips or pretzels, or
it always reminds me of the scene in Back to the Future where Doc opens the top of the DeLorean, the gas tank, and he's just putting like garbage.
Literal garbage.
It's just like any fuel that can just power this thing.
So funny that you thought of that.
So
sorry, it's a great reference.
And then so like what in terms of like gear, like so you're hiking. So it's in September.
Lucky. So my 2022 year was like in the morning it was probably like high 30s. Got up to like 50 and sunny, just like because you warm up. So like the average, like
of course you're probably
the
hot.
rule of thumb is like if you're doing like a run or a hike, the rule of thumb is like whatever the temperature it is outside, dress for 20 degrees above that. It's kind of the rule of thumb.
Okay,
interesting.
So good to know
because you heat up. So like it was 40. Like Saturday when I was finishing, it was probably like in the high 40s. And I was in shorts and a long sleeve.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You're hot. You're running hot. As soon as you stop, you're freezing. Mm-hmm. But when you're hiking, you're cold. You're hot.
Forgot about.
So I got lucky. Like my 2 years, 22 and 24, were amazing weather. Last year, it rained for 35 of the 36 hours.
Oh God!
4.5 inches of rain.
And that trail gets muddy even without rain.
We were
right?
saying because like my buddy did it last year. I was like, I don't know. Like the muddy parts that were on the trail this year were annoying, and there was probably like 30 feet of it. The whole course for 36 hours, I have no idea how.
Yeah.
I met a guy who did it last year on lap 9. He slipped in the mud and tore his calf muscle.
Oh no.
So it was back this year to like.
Oh God, you'd go back after that?
Yeah, really.
Well, he didn't finish.
I know, but that's just. I feel like it's just all calves up the way.
Do you think you're going to do this again?
So,
because you've done it twice now.
I would do it at another location.
Okay, right. Gotcha.
I wouldn't go back to Stratton for a very long time.
Would you do? Would you want to do one? So, you said some of the mountains, it's like 8 hikes up. Are there any that are more than 17?
So it's funny. People have talked. I talked to a few guys who did. So the 8 hike one is Whistler in Vancouver.
Oh, that's beautiful. I've heard.
You heard it. They said the scenery is amazing. It's gorgeous. It's probably the most beautiful event. But 8 hikes, it's a hike. Like what I was doing,
it's a legit hike.
What I was doing was like a climb, meaning like it was. You could see the top from the bottom. This one, 8 hikes, it's 4.5 miles of like. And so like to do like one more at night.
That's lonelier too.
Like there's
you don't see as many people,
right?
Like unless you're hiking with someone, you could be by yourself for a long time. And the nice thing about Stratton, as you will know, is like it's very spectator friendly.
Right. Yeah.
You always the gondola goes right over the trail.
Yeah, I could see you every hour basically.
Yeah,
which was nice.
So the one that's similar to Stratton, which I've heard is similar to Stratton in terms of the hike, but I've heard is beautiful as well as Mont Tremblant in Montreal or the Quebec area. So it's like a very French European feel. It's in Canada. It's only like an hour and a half flight from New York. But we'll see.
Because what you were saying about the 8-1, it's because now you have this decision, like, do we do one more today? I mean, it's 4 fucking miles.
Yeah,
you know, like that's a long time.
And you're going through like
know?
you're almost going through like different climates too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're going through like forest and then like trail. Like I've heard it's stunning, like absolutely
I'm
beautiful.
sure.
But the weather can be. I mean, listen, everything changes with the weather. Like it could be an easy hike, but you throw some weather in there, and it's a different ball game.
So the training was running, and did you try to like you consciously throw hills into that, like
Or lunges or something?
is it running for the muscle buildup in the legs?
It's time on feet.
It's time on feet.
So like I'm not a fast
Me neither.
runner.
Me
Like
neither.
I feel like I could do sprints pretty quick, but like if you want me to run a race, I'm not going to be.
I'm not an 8-minute mile guy.
Yeah, like I could probably do. I don't know. My miles for this one, like, were probably in like the 10 or 11, like slow. Like I could go for a while, like just for me, like, and then I was doing a lot of step ups, and then
But you would run a lot.
I was run a lot, and then when it got too dark to go out like super early in the morning, so like beginning of September,
Yeah.
for the last like 2 months, I was basically doing treadmill incline with a like rucksack. So I had like a 25-pound backpack. Just
Would you say your training was like, oh, I trained for this? Like I definitely was prepared.
Yeah, that's the one thing about the price, right? Is like you don't want to half-ass it. Like you're
Right.
paying this.
Let's
much.
do this thing.
Yeah, like other events that I've done, right? Whether it's like a half marathon or a triathlon, it was kind of just like, all right, go run this amount, then maybe we'll swim, and then we'll bike for a little. As long as we got our bases covered, I think like this was like, this is what you're doing on Monday, this is what you're doing on Tuesday, this is what you're doing for every 2 weeks. You're getting your 2 weeks mapped out, and now you can, they're like puzzle pieces. So like depending on my schedule, my Monday, what it said on Monday, I might have to move to Wednesday, and then my Wednesday I move to Friday, but for the most part, and I added a little more lifting in because
That's what I was going to ask. Like,
I got a little too frail after 2022, only because you just have to put so much cardio.
Just
in.
constantly.
That's what I was going to ask. Was like, what was
The last 2 months I haven't done much lifting because it's been longer training runs. But sorry, go ahead.
I always say like when you do a race for the first time, it's almost like a trial, essentially, because when you do it blindly, like you don't know all the like sort of hidden nuances of like, I didn't think of that. Or,
Yes.
So like when you do your first marathon and then you do your second one, you know way more about how you should train or how you should adapt. So like, what did you adapt from the first time to the second time? Like, what were you like, okay, I'm prepared for this, I should do more of this or less of that, or I don't need to focus on that?
I think I was at a way better, so when I started training in June, I had a way better base than I did 2 years ago. So like 2 years ago in that June, I was basically like starting my running at 0.
Right.
Where this one I was like in pretty good shape already. And then it had the training has different tiers that you can do based on your fitness. So like there's 4 tiers. So tier 4 was like you're basically like a really good endurance athlete and you want to push yourself. Tier 1 is like you've never done anything before. So like for like the first 2 months, I was going between tiers 3 and 4 because it wasn't like super long. And then as like the training got longer, like the higher the tier, the longer the workouts would be. So it got to the point where like these workouts just weren't, tier 3 and tier 4 workouts weren't suitable for my my lifestyle, and like so I just went back to tier 1 because I know that's what I trained for the first time and I did it. But I added a lot more step ups this year. A lot more. I did didn't do a ton of heavy leg lifting, but a lot of like weighted step ups. Kind of stick to I knew what worked.
Yeah.
And even like the event itself, for the most part, pretty spot on in terms of the amount of hikes I did Friday, the breaks I took, pretty similar to 2022. Finished around the same time.
Yeah, nothing too crazy different.
I mean, listen, the weather was like exactly the same too. Yeah. So I got lucky with that.
So it sounds like you really have like positive things to say about this race and the company and the organization and everything, training, all that. Is there anything now that you've done 2 that you didn't like or that you would change or recommend in some way?
For the event itself?
Or, I mean, the whole thing, the training, the event, I don't know, anything that you think could be done better?
I mean, the food at Stratton, but I mean, I think that's just like, they work with the chef, but I mean, I think it's just, they're not shipping in the food.
Yeah, you can't complain.
I mean, they're shipping in the food that's at like the aid stations and stuff, because it's like a lot of it's like packaged stuff. And
Vermont's just a very vanilla place, isn't it? It's like, not their fault.
I don't know. I mean, there's
not a lot of spices in Vermont.
Yeah, like
you know,
I mean, yeah, you could throw some maple syrup in, but
right?
I mean,
like, what are you gonna really make up there?
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. Ben and Jerry's,
like the lodging,
the
the lodging at the resort was not great, but like that's not the event's fault,
right?
I don't know. I mean,
everyone says the greatest shit about this thing. They really do. On Reddit, like I said,
and I think I got in at a good time, because now I don't, based on how they're gonna do like signups and stuff every year, at least for this year. I don't know how many events are actually gonna make it to the like general public to purchase, because they're gonna allow alumni to have first dibs at the events, which I think is, the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many tickets, and you could, alumni could register guests at some point, but in terms of like getting it to like the general public, I don't know how many of the events are going to be.
Were there, what'd you say, 230 people this year?
280.
So how many were there 2 years ago? Was there
50? So okay. I think either way, they're going to max out at like 300. I think that's the most they would do.
So wait, so go back to how you heard about this, how long it's like been in existence, but like, because I think you sent it to me on Instagram, or maybe it was some of these guys that like fitness influencers and stuff, but like, how'd you hear about it, and what made you see it and be like, yeah, I want to do that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think like most people I talked to when I first did it, saw it on Jesse Itzler's Instagram. I think that's how I saw it. I'm not 100%.
And did you do it because I always assumed, knowing you have back issues, I always assumed it was because, well, his back's fucked up, so he can't run a marathon without ruining himself. So this is the next
kind
thing.
of.
Is that really
at the point at the time I was like in a rut, and I was like, I need to do something. And
it's got to be hard.
And this seemed like the perfect. Like I could hike, I could walk up a hill with training. So I think I saw it on his. I had to make the decision pretty quick, because registration's always in like late October, early November, and I think I saw it in like September. And I think I asked you. I don't know how many. I don't know.
I do remember it was pretty quick.
I don't think that was the problem. I think people had like, by the time I decided I wanted to do it, I think I gave people like a week, which is like,
yeah.
So I wasn't expecting people to, so I think, and thankfully my wife was like, yeah, like let's do it. And so I signed up, and then when you click submit, like you're not doing the event for like another 11 months. Like, it's not like, it's like a while down the road. So you kind of like forget about it.
Yeah.
But then it was the first event that like, it was good for me that I did it by myself, because I I needed this event from like a physical standpoint, but like it also took me out of like my comfort zone of like not leaning on anyone at the event. Like I had to like go sit at a table that I didn't know anyone, or like go up to someone and like strike a conversation. And like, but a lot of people were in the same boat.
Yeah.
You know what I
they're
mean?
just like you. Exactly.
And so, and even I had to do it this time. Like last minute, I was like mentally prepped to be like, oh, I'll have like a buddy with me. We'll like meet people together. And this time I was like, oh, I gotta like do this on my own again, which I'm not like necessarily like, I'm not like an introvert, but like it doesn't come as easy like for you. Like
Right.
it's like,
For me, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's unusual. Yeah.
like one of the guys I hiked with, he was like kind of like you, where like he'd walk by someone, and the next thing you know, they're hiking for the next 30 minutes talking about and me and the other guy were
It's the
just
gift
like,
of gab.
Yeah.
It's really true though. It is.
So yeah, I think it's great in that aspect too, because everyone wants to like meet people there and
Right.
like hear each other's.
There's gonna be so many,
And because like
wives,
the price point is like
husbands.
high, the event tends to skew at a older age, just because you know older
Yeah, people have the money.
So I think like the average age is probably like mid 40s. I'd say I'm probably like one of the, I wouldn't say handful, but I'm like I skew younger, I think.
Right.
Would you say it attracts a certain type of person outside of like
It's
demographics?
interesting because we were talking when we were hiking, is like there's some people out there, like you can tell from like lap 1, lap 2, like they're not gonna finish.
Yeah.
Like you could probably see when you were watching.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Really,
Like they're, but like,
because they're old and they're old.
well,
they're fat.
you know, like
You just,
listen,
you just
I think-
watch their body language.
I was
and
actually
you're
thinking about
like,
this the
"Yeah,
other
I don't
day
know."
because like the normally I'd be like you're in, like, why would you waste your money knowing you're not gonna finish this? Like what a waste. And I actually saw something on Facebook. It was like the scene, like pictures from the scene. Have you seen Ted Lasso? You seen it?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of
You know,
episodes.
he's playing the darts.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
And
famous
it's
scene. Yes.
with the famous quote
Be
is
curious,
like,
not
be
judgmental.
curious, not
Not
judgmental.
judgmental, yes.
So I was like, I was thinking about it, I was like, these people might have like a backstory where like their goal was in Everest. Their goal is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how many can I do? Because I've never done anything like this before in my entire life. And like me accomplishing 2 laps, 4 laps, 5 laps is like my Everest.
Yeah, and
know
not
what
that
I
you
mean?
guys were ever making fun of these people. I
We
know
were
you
making fun of them.
weren't.
We were just like, it got to the point where like,
Of course not.
why?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, you know, I mean, like some people, this money has nothing to do with any decision they make. Like
No, but
they have it,
I think for a
you know?
lot of people, it is like, for me, I mean, I completed it, but it was like a springboard for me to like try and do other stuff or like be a better.
It's just like when you see someone at the gym or whatever who you can tell isn't doing it right and definitely doesn't know what they're doing and like hasn't been going for a while. They're here at least.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing something. It's better than the couch. You know,
Right.
maybe that's the way they.
And some
view
people
it,
too probably
you know?
need a sort of monetary
Yeah.
like incentive
Yes.
to sign themselves
totally.
up for an event, even
or else
though
they won't do it.
or else they won't do it. And like I think I always admire people that do that. Like even though you can tell at many races, marathons and stuff, you're like, this person's not going to finish or it's going to be brutal for them. But I think a lot of people just need that like sort of gun to their head of like, well, I signed up.
Even me,
and
I
now
would have
gotta do
never
it,
done
so
a
let's
half
see.
marathon unless I didn't sign up. My sister did.
Yeah.
She was like, "You're doing a half marathon, by the way. It's already paid for." I was like, "Fuck."
Like it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds heavy, but like the 2022 event, like honestly, like changed my life.
But like,
Yeah.
let's.
Like it really did.
But like, what?
Clip that.
Yeah, But I want to know more. Like, I know that what people know. People know what you mean by that. But is it more about because you were in this place with your back that you felt like you couldn't do stuff? You know?
Yeah,
and
I guess you're trying to equate like, was my back the thing that was like my back was the thing that was holding me back, no pun intended. But I signed up for this before my back, I guess, got better. And I think signing up was like, I need to do something. I think my back will be okay.
You were going down this road where your back was going to be an excuse throughout your life for things, at whatever they were.
I knew something had,
And-
like, my first step was like something had to change. Like, I need to go to this. Like I was going to like a chiropractor and like
We all know that guy doesn't do work.
like sometimes it's nice for an
I'll
adjustment.
also throw in, so you did that race in 2022. 2021, what, 4 months before you signed up, you threw your back out the day before my wedding.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
yeah,
that set me back pretty bad.
Well, a golf swing will do that.
Yeah.
My best shot of the day too. It was my best shot. And the
14th hole.
the shot after that was my second best shot. But it really screwed up my back.
Oh well, see, that's the price.
But that I forgot.
Yeah, you
about
were
that.
fucked up after that.
That for a few months that was really bad.
Yeah, you were just laying in the golf cart the last like 5
Well,
holes.
because first of all, you know when you blow out your back, because it actually happened to my wife like a couple of weeks ago. It's like no matter.
It's really not funny, actually.
It's not.
terrifying.
It sucks, and it takes a minimum of like 5 days.
Minimum.
No, the worst was
Like it's just there's nothing you can do.
the worst was maybe like 10 years ago when we were shoveling at mom and dad's house.
Oh,
You
I
threw your
couldn't
back
get
out.
up.
Like me and dad had to like carry you into the house.
I've only thrown my back out one time, and I cried.
I haven't shoveled.
I literally cried.
I haven't shoveled heavy snow since then. That's probably 10 years ago. Well, I lived in the city. I never.
Oh,
had to
sure,
shovel.
yeah.
So now it's just kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong.
It hurts.
No,
sometimes.
I stretch a ton.
Yeah.
Like I am.
It's not. It's absolutely necessary.
It's gotten to
Still
the
got to
point.
manage it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's. Yeah, I am in constant active mobilization.
When we
What does Chelsea call your house? The recovery lab or something?
She calls it the I guess something like the Tom Brennan Health and Wellness Center.
You know what's really funny? You're that's funny, but like
Thanks for the
it's
line.
got a good ring to it. Sorry.
You're about to breeze right over that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let me make my point.
Because
Yeah,
you know
that's
what? No, because this actually truly just popped into my head. I actually just realized, I had with my back, obviously, I was heavier back in the day and whatever. And like, I went to the doctor about my back and, what happened was they did an x-ray and I actually was born with a birth defect in my spine. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but my last disc, they meet in the middle, but mine goes like this. They're crooked. And my back was killing me. And this is so funny, actually, Tommy, because he said to me, the guy, he goes, after looking at this x-ray, your back is absolutely fucked up. And he goes,
to use doctor terms.
good. Good bedside
manner. Word for word. He said, no, but he was like, there's a big chance you'll be in a wheelchair when you get older.
How old were you in this?
I was like 24.
It's like, can you give me a rough time?
And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, if you don't like stretch and lose weight and like take care of yourself, there's a huge chance you'll be in a wheelchair. And it's funny that like ever since then, I took it so fucking seriously to like get that taken, like just to stretch and like lose weight and like start running or whatever I could do, anything to like be more healthy. And then my back hasn't hurt like that since.
As bad as it sounds.
And I completely forgot about that.
As bad as it sounds, like sometimes you actually do need something bad to happen.
100%,
to like
dude.
catapult you to like be like, this is at such a critical point where like I can't go on. Like,
let me throw an expression at you for this because it's just a great expression. Once you're in hell, only the devil can show you the way out. That's that.
That's good.
I love that because that's what it is. Like you need a little bit of poison now. Like you're in hell, your back's killing you. It's like, where do I go? How do I get out of here? Who knows this place better than anybody? Satan, right? You gotta go to the thing that's like, it seems like the thing you shouldn't do. Run, compress your spine more. What do you mean? Like, there's this huge fucking epidemic of this mentality in this country. I know a lot of people who have it. Like their back hurts, so they just sit and don't move, and it's like, yeah, that's gonna work.
Well, one of the things one of the coaches says in the
It's not gonna help.
when you're on the mountain, right, and you're like, this sucks, right? And you were talking about like, can you go one more? And you can. And one of the phrases is like, don't let the mind get in the way of what the body knows it's capable of doing.
Ooh, love it.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's what your mind goes first. Your body knows, like, you trained for this. Like, I know I can do it.
But it's your mind telling you, let's just go back to the hotel.
We'll go back to the shower.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get some sleep.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other benefit too of doing these hard things is that it applies in every other area of your life where you can sort of quiet that inner like critic of you.
It's true, man.
You learn how
It's
to be
true.
like, because when you're when you're running like 14 miles. Every step, your brain is just like, dude, stop, sit down, lay down. What are you doing? You're an idiot. Stop doing this. You don't have to do it. And every step you have to be like, shut up, shut up, shut up. And over time, like that, you can apply that to every other area of your life. And like whatever it is you're doing, you can just take control over that voice or quiet it or calm it and know that you can sort of like, as Rogan says, conquer the inner bitch, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't love like I think some people are like kind of turning against like the whole like Goggins mentality.
for sure, yeah.
Because like you don't. So, the coach brought up one of the coaches, a great speaker. He's like, when you're getting in these situations, like when you're like, you're suffering, like you don't want to be like angry or like you want to have a calm mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be like yelling at yourself.
Right.
Like you need to. That's where you should be.
Right.
In this calm. Like let's take a breather. Like let's either slow down the pace. Let's get some fuel. Let's get some hydration. Like not like power through. Because like eventually that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm actually reading a book right now called The Inner Game of Tennis. I don't know if you heard about it, but like Tim Ferriss recommends it, but a lot of like CEOs use it. It technically is about tennis, but it's really just about like the mindset of tennis players and how to like sort of quiet that voice, like you said. And because in tennis, famously, guys will, hit a serve into the net and then like curse themselves and then like carry that body language into the next point and be like, I suck.
What was like Federer's recent commencement address? He talked about how many points he lost in his career.
Exactly.
It's like insane.
And like,
it was like half the point.
Yeah. And a lot of times the best tennis players are the ones that are able to, I mean, every tennis player makes a shit ton of mistakes. Same with baseball players. Like you strike out 70% of the time, even if you're the best. It's the guys who are able to have that short memory. And also like, it's not about like quieting the negative voice or like replacing it with positive thoughts and be like, yeah, you struck out, but like you'll get them next time. It's really about what you said, which is just like staying calm and like feeling and trusting your body's instincts versus trying to like think your way to a correct swing. And same with golf. Like if you hit a bad shot, you're like, oh, you idiot. You got to keep that like front arm straight. And then the next time you're only thinking about keeping your front arm straight. And then you forget to like move your hips. And then you're like, oh, now you got to do both. But when you're in like that flow state, like you're just feeling and sort of trusting your body mechanics. You're seeing, you know where your club is, you know where you should be, and you're just trusting that. And if it ends up being a bad shot, you're like, all right, whatever. I felt like I knew what I was doing on that shot. Let me try to correct it with feel.
Well, it's funny like, you say that like flow state. So like one of the things that we realized when we were hiking was like, we got to create conversation. Because if you're just talking about whatever, it's like left foot, right foot, left foot, right. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we just finished that really shitty part that we hate every single time.
That's true.
You're like, let's just like, I don't care what we talk about. So one of the things was like, what are the 3 things you're going to bring on a desert island? And you're just like, oh, what am I going to bring on? And all of a sudden you're just like, it's just like, because like when it got quiet, because you're like in your own head. Yeah. It just made it that much harder.
Distraction is huge.
One guy, I do jujitsu with, he hums to himself while you're literally like fighting to choke each other and break each other's arms, and to keep himself calm and like remind himself to just like flow and feel. He literally like will hum songs, and it pisses me off. So I'm like, you motherfucker! Like I'm trying to like choke this guy, and he's just calmly like. Yeah,
that's like
he does it low enough
psychotic.
where he knows it's annoying.
No,
like,
I know.
But it is funny because like it's a way he reminds himself. I don't know if he does it consciously or not.
Alan Watts talks about the like archery with these Buddhist monks or whatever. Like they would talk about releasing the bow before you think to do it. That's what I guess it's a flow state thing too. But like it's also like. You can get to a point of mastery where like you don't allow thoughts into your brain. It's kind of like there is no try. You either do or do not kind of thing. And like it's they don't have the thought like, oh, I'm gonna hit this target because right now I'm gonna. It's this like you're so in tune with yourself and your body that it's just this natural flowing and it's perfect every time.
Well, the thing that this tennis instructor in that Inner Game of Tennis book says was he's coaching a lot of like he's a country club pro, so he's coaching like women in their 40s who are trying to learn
Right.
tennis, and like they're just hitting balls into net after net, and he's like trying to correct their grip
And
like,
those knees.
yeah, and like,
Like, you know,
yeah.
you're doing great.
What's that from?
Happy
Happy
Gilmore.
Gilmore. Yeah, Chubbs.
He's ready to get back his knees. Like, and those knees.
It's all on the hips. Yeah,
The woman is not. She's not even hitting the ball. It's so funny.
but exactly that. But what he tells, he starts to he writes about it in his book. He starts to realize that like his whole thing of trying to drill and teach like mechanics just wasn't working. So instead, he switches it and he tells the women, "Hey, on this next shot on the forehand, I want you to focus on like where your feet are." And all of a sudden, like she starts hitting him over the net because she's not thinking about where to put her racket and where to hit the ball and like the stroke. She's thinking about her feet.
Gotcha.
And as long as like her feet are in the right thing, then she doesn't worry about that.
True.
And then all of a sudden she's feeling with her feet versus being like, I need to hit the ball to this corner at this like spin rate. Like,
Yeah, it makes
and
sense.
it's interesting how that could apply to any sport or anything you do, really.
Yeah.
I'll end it with, oh no. Well, I wanted to ask, I'm sure the funniest or most frustrating part of you doing this race is having to explain to people what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not like a marathon where everyone's like, oh yeah, 26.2 miles. Right?
Like, is there a go-to like 3 sentences that you say to like get people,
That's a great question.
you know?
It's hard to like.
Because people go, it's not even the same altitude. Like, it takes a month to climb Everest. Like, what do you mean?
Even for me today, like at work, everyone's like, "Oh, what'd you do this weekend?" I'm like, "I watched my brother do this like hike race."
Yeah, it's hard
and
to
they're
explain.
like,
They're like, one of the things a lot of people, oh, you don't have to hike down. I'm like, well, you still got to hike up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
as if it makes it easier. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, it makes it hard because like not a lot of people know about it.
I don't
Yeah.
know if I know anyone who knows about it, honestly.
Yeah, I've always wondered like because they give you a sweatshirt and they give you like another hat as like swag, and I'm always like, I wonder if I wear this out, like someone will recognize it. And I mean, I haven't really worn them out in, I don't know, a lot of places, but I don't know. I don't think a lot of people, unless you're in that world or follow the founders who are pretty, a couple of them are pretty famous in their own right.
Who are like the sort of like Instagram celebs, for lack of a better term, who have made it popular?
Well, so the founders are Jesse Itzler, Colin O'Brady, who's kind of like a.
Is he on Rogan, Colin O'Brady?
He was on
Or
he
Rich
was
Roll.
on Rich Roll, and he's been on.
Didn't he like walk across Antarctica?
Yeah, unsupported, with a 375 pounds.
You're competing with that guy.
Yeah, he's done like some crazy stuff.
Jesus.
And then the other guy, Mark Holick, I did a hike with him. He's one of these guys. He's like, I should use my own product. So I know and hike with you guys. So I know like what you like, what you don't like.
He's the main like CEO and
He's the
founder.
CEO. He runs.
What did he do before this?
He's been in like I don't know his full backstory. I know he was like a runner in college. I think he's been in like the entrepreneur type world. But they actually, so the three of them founded it. They sold it probably in 2022 after I did. They sold it to iFit, who like, they're like the app for like the Nordic Track treadmill, and they have like, they're kind of like a.
How long were they around for that they sold it?
They started in 2017, so they sold it to iFit, and then within I think less than a year, they said they bought it back. So they bought it back because they wanted control, and they felt like they had something real and genuine. So yeah, the three of them bought it back, and now they own it. And so they do it every year. They just came out with the dates for next year, and the registration is in like a couple of weeks. But yeah, to your point, it's kind of hard to describe. Most people,
I would preface.
Most people
I'd be
ask
listen.
most people ask like, why?
Yeah.
Well,
why run a marathon? You can say that.
That's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not gonna give my elevator pitch, but it's an awesome event. It is a high price point, but for me, it was like I kind of needed a kick in the ass to start. And like Kyle said, like a monetary throwing money at something, not throwing, but like spending and like knowing you have to follow through, it carries an extra weight to it.
Agreed.
And I knew for me, like this was something I needed to stick to. And they had the plan, they had the blueprint. Like they give you everything to succeed, but you got to put in the work, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort. So I love the event. I love everything about it. I've met some really cool people that I hiked with that like we kind of keep it, we'll keep in touch, but like you kind of have like a weird personal bond with them that even though you only spent 30 hours with them, and a woman I hiked with 2 years ago, we still chat every now and then, but like haven't seen her since then. But like
it's still there.
We did like 15 of the 17 laps together, and it was like, yeah, I mean, you're in it with someone.
Yeah. Being in it, it's the same thing as, like any camaraderie. It's like,
I can't recommend the event enough. Yeah. If people want to look at it, into it more, it's like 29029everesting.com. That's also their Instagram handle is 29029.
What and is this? I'm so, just so I know too, is for people listening as well. That 3-day marathon thing, is this the same guys?
Same thing. It's called their trail event.
Trail event. Okay.
It's in their list of dates.
Okay.
That'll probably be sold out to alumni.
Okay.
Day one.
Darn.
Yeah.
That's in Park City, Utah.
I really wanted to do that.
The mountains they do it at are like the most beautiful ski resorts in North America.
I gotta say, the 12-hour part of that does sound like
frustratingly doable.
That is exactly right.
If you're training for a marathon.
Because now it's like, okay, well, fuck, I know I can do
You don't have to run the whole time.
Right, you could literally walk it every day, or run a mile, walk a mile, run a mile, walk a mile. You could just, like...
That's the thing.
It's annoying.
But when
that's pissing me off. Like,
when you think about how long it's going to take,
yeah.
But like, oh, it could be done. Like, so this year, they had 3 marathons, 3 days. It was a 92% completion rate.
Yeah, I love that.
People got it done.
Yeah, and like,
and if you watch the video on their Instagram story, like all different sizes,
walks of life.
It's just got to put in the effort.
All right. Well, Tom, I want to end it with this. Give us a book, podcast, or end show that you're watching or reading or recommending right now.
Book I'm currently reading, it's called Ascent to Power. It is about it's called Ascent to Power. It's how Harry Truman emerged from FDR's shadow to reshape the world. So basically,
right up our alley.
Quick synopsis, super quick, was basically like FDR got elected to a 4th term and picked Harry Truman as his vice president, and then like died 60 days in, 90 days in.
Right.
But like never really told him anything.
Gave him the down low on what
on
we're
anything,
doing here.
Really.
Yeah.
So So basically
big shoes to fill.
It goes through,
not even an index card.
Right. Yeah, it goes through like him getting the presidency, and now I'm on the part where like he's running for I guess his first real election, and it's actually written by Rich Roll's dad, David Roll.
Oh wow,
he's a historian. I don't love the book. I mean, I like it, but a lot of it is like, which I read in the comments on Amazon, and when you read something and you're like,
now it's in your head.
So it's like he like assumes a lot of things. So he's like, oh, Truman had a meeting with so and so you have to assume he made the decision based on that. And I'm like,
do I have to assume that? Yeah. Anyway, Ascent to Power
podcast. I kind of keep it like a short list. I don't branch out. I listen to you guys.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Smart
Appreciate
lists. Rogan, if he has someone interesting. Rich Roll.
Have you seen any?
Theo Vaughn, if he has someone funny.
Yeah. No, I mean he's the best.
That
raisins line was like was fucking so funny. I think about it every day.
And he says it with a straight face.
Yeah.
And immediately.
Yeah.
What was it? I like grapes who've been through something.
Like Theo Vaughn asked you, do you like raisins? He goes, no, I just have like regular sourdough. He's like, do you like raisins? He goes, yeah, I like grapes that have been through something. That's just how I am.
Yeah. It's just hilarious. I don't know if I told you this one time, because like I told Kyle this the other day, and he thought it was hilarious when Theo was talking about someone from back in his childhood, and he goes, He goes, I used to know this kid Billy. He was my neighbor. Well, he wasn't my neighbor, but I guess he could have been if he lived closer. But like you're just like listening, you're like, wait, I have to. That was the fucking funniest thing I've ever heard somebody say. Like, why would you say that? That's the stupid. I guess he could have been if he like lived closer, but anyway, like
so,
that.
Sorry,
So stupid.
What was the last one?
Show.
Watching. Actually, one you guys will like. Well, right now I'm watching Shrinking on Apple TV.
Yeah, I'm watching that.
Harrison Ford, Jason
good.
Segel. Really good show. Usually
Okay,
it's comedy.
okay.
I'm in the middle of this one. It's really long. It's like this 8-part series on Netflix about how the Cold War originated.
Oh,
It's really in depth, but it's
think I
really
start-
good. It starts from like World War II, and now like
Well,
how,
of course. I
how
mean,
the Cold War started. But it's like
I think I started that.
it's like 8 episodes. Like each one's like an hour, but they're
It's too heavy. I watched because I tried to watch it at like 9:30 before I go to bed, and I'm like, I can't. Like my brain can't process this.
yeah.
right
I
now.
mean, it's been taking me like 2 months to finish it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
hey, it's a lot of stuff. Like it's depth.
Thanks
you
for
know?
having me, guys.
Well, Tom,
No,
yeah,
we had a
thanks for
great
coming
time,
on the
man.
show.
Brilliant.
I appreciate it.
Just do it again.
Where can people find you if they want to?
I don't have as much of a following as you guys, but I think what is my handle?
T Brennan
5?
16
No,
5. That's what it is.
T Brennan
5.
5?
T Bro 5?
T Brenna.
No, is it?
Yeah, there's no N for some reason. I think must have been
that's
taken.
A whole college. Yeah, it was.
T Brennan. Oh, they whatever.
Yeah,
college.
just put me in whatever you guys.
Yeah, we'll tag you.
Yeah, well,
just-
yeah.
thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Tom.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
guys.
All
We'll
right.
see you next time, and thank you, everybody.
See ya.